Hi, this is Sean O'Toole with Foreclosure Radar's California Foreclosure Report for February 2010. Taking a look at foreclosure filings, we saw notices of default increase 20% in February. Now this is up after 4 months of straight declines, and it's really not that surprising given that delinquencies continue to rise and the foreclosure numbers are really low given the high number of folks we have not making their payments in California. So I don't know that this will be a trend upwards longer term, but for February we are up almost 20%. Down year over year though, nearly 40%, this despite the fact that delinquencies are far higher now than they were a year ago. Notices of Trustee Sale relatively flat, up just 3.6%, and they're also up 33% year over year as more folks move out of the pre-foreclosure stage and into being scheduled for sale. Now moving down to the courthouse steps, we did see again a decline in foreclosure outcomes. Those properties going back to the bank down 14.3% to 11,943. Those going to third-party investors also down slightly this month, 2.7% to 3,606 properties purchased by investors on the courthouse steps. So foreclosure sales are down, even though notices of trustee sale scheduling the foreclosures were up slightly, and this is still a big disconnect with delinquencies. Cancellations too were flat, down just 0.9%, up 100% year over year, but still nothing like the wave of cancellations that we expected due to the home affordable modification program and their conversion drive to move those from trial modifications to permanent modifications. That's clearly not happening. We haven't seen cancellations rise dramatically at all, and I think at this point it's safe to say that HAMP has failed. Now let's take a look at foreclosure inventories. First, pre-foreclosures, we believe those are down about 8%. Now this is an estimated number, unlike most of the rest of our numbers. And the reason we think these are down, even though notices of defaults are up in February, is that notices of default have been declining each month here for quite a few months up until February. And as those older ones roll off, the overall inventory is lowering even with the slight increase this last month. Now, the number of properties scheduled for sale is flat, and basically what's happening here is we did have a slight increase in the number of new notices of trustee sale, but it's basically equal to the number of properties that are being sold or canceled. So scheduled for inventory flat, no real change there, down just 0.5%. Finally, bank-owned inventories are up slightly, even though foreclosure sales are down. The reason for this, their resales are slow. February and January were both fairly slow months in terms of sales out there, and they're reselling fewer REOs, and therefore their inventories increased slightly despite the fact they took fewer back. The discounts down at the foreclosure steps are tightening. The discounts to third parties from fair market value, only about 15.2% in February. That's down from 17.8% in January. And this is probably about as tight as they can get given the cost to flip and fix, the sales commissions, repairs, etc. I don't really see how discounts can get much lower and keep third-party interest. Now that said, we saw a higher percentage of sales go to third parties in February than we have any time since I've started tracking these sales in September of 2006, with 23.2% being purchased by third-party investors. Those going back to the bank typically go back to the bank with an opening bid 21% higher than fair market value. Clearly the banks don't want those properties to be sold to third parties. Looking at the foreclosure timeframes, we saw some leveling off this month after going up for the last few months. Time to foreclose down 2.2% at 224 days, relatively flat. And it seems like maybe this is about as much as we can delay the foreclosure process. We'll see in the months to come. Now, time to resell has been going up for the last few months and has finally leveled off. We think it's been increasing due to the fact that we just went through the slow selling season. Hopefully we'll see time to resell begin to decline as we come into the spring, and hopefully it becomes a little easier to sell homes. That'll definitely be something to watch. It'll be a good indicator of what the strength is in the market for these third-party investors and for the banks that need to get rid of their inventory. Thanks for watching February's California Foreclosure Report. This is Sean O'Toole with Foreclosure Radar. Have a great day.